joining Arise Show. And today we have a very special guest here and a very good friend of mine, Crystal Durham. Crystal is the CEO and founder of 90 Days of Love Crisis Center for Aged Out Foster Youth. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Did I get that right? Because
Yes.
this organization is such an awesome organization, and I wanted all of my listeners from radio to hear about this organization, and my YouTube followers to really know about this organization, because this is what's really missing. And there's probably not that many organizations out here that cater to the aged out foster youth.
Correct.
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 Tell us a little bit about that. First, tell us about yourself first. Introduce yourself.
Well, as you said, I am Crystal R. Durham. I am the founder of 90 Days of Love Crisis Center. But I didn't start there. I don't look anything like of what I've gone through and what qualifies me to help and assist age out foster youth or even children in foster care. A long time ago, as a child, I was molested at a young age. I was raped. I was kidnapped, right? And I didn't even realize that I was kidnapped on the time. What happened was when I was questioning God was, why you want me to help age out foster youth? What qualifies me to help? And he began to say, where did this happen to you? And I was like, yes, I was molested. He's like, oh, was you raped? I was like, yes, I was raped. He was like, were you kidnapped? I was like, no, I wasn't kidnapped, because kidnap in my mind meant a stranger took me and put me somewhere, and I didn't know, and I got to escape and went to, all of that. But my kidnap happened. Kidnap is when someone holds you against your will, right? And so this individual helped me in the car. The next individual kidnapped me and took me into his home for 4 days and raped me repeatedly. And then another individual was trying to take me out of state to not just rape me, but kill me. And God got me out of all of that situation. And so when he said, and I said, oh my God, I was kidnapped. And then he said, were you homeless? Were you abandoned? Were you rejected? And I had went through all of that in my early youth, all the way up to 28 years old. I was alcoholic. I was on drugs. I was addicted to marijuana. I was on my way being addicted to cocaine. And I'm sitting there crying because I didn't realize that I had went through so much, but it's similar to what age out foster youth go through. Most of them get molested, most of them get kidnapped, most of them are now being sex trafficking. And even though they didn't sell my body, it was as if they were, because they took advantage of me.
Now this, you
Mhm.
mentioned about the sex trafficking. Now, were these people who you knew or friends, or you thought were
These
friends?
were, well, one of them someone lived in the neighborhood. The other ones were strangers. I was just a angry young child. I got into situations that I knew I shouldn't be. I was hanging out with girls that I knew weren't good for me, and they were putting me in situations. But most of it was I got into the car. I left and went to the hotel, or I did things that I shouldn't have been. I was in situations like hooky school and at a house, and getting drugged, almost being drugged with date rape drugs. So I put myself in those situations, but God got me out of it.
Right.
And so some of them I knew and some of them I did not know.
Hmm.
And but as I went through life, by the time I was 28 years old, I was an alcoholic. I was
Wow.
trying to bury that hurt. I was in an abusive relationship where I was mentally and physically being abused, and my marriage, and I got married again, and only to get spiritually abused by a preacher And also he committed adultery. So, and I went through that whole spirit of being rejected, so I went through a whole lot of challenges in my life. And when God asked me to help the age out foster youth, that is what he told me. And I was like, oh my God. And then the thing to top it off, my sister's children at that birth, when they were born, I say the seventh day or the eighth day in the hospital, social services came in and took them because they were born to drugs, addicted to drugs. So they went into the foster care system. And I kept thinking the whole time, what's going to happen to them? Who's going to help them when they turn 18? Where would they go? Would they know us? That I couldn't even sleep. And so we petitioned the courts. My family and I petitioned the courts, and they gave us custody after 3 months of saying, I had to literally pack up and move a state and go back home to get them out of court. I was in a job. I was soaring in his career. And here it is, my sister's children are in foster care. And so I had to leave my residence, pack up and leave my job and go all the way back home just to let the system know that we were going to be there and we wanted my sister's children. And so today they are 17 years old. You know them, they went to your school. They're
I
doing
know them.
so amazing. They beat all odds that was against them, and so they are just some amazing children right now. And so when God asked me to start 90 Days of Love Crisis Center, I really didn't feel qualified. But in my past, I had helped troubled teens who have gone through the same exact things. And so that is how 90 Days of Love Crisis Center was birthed, based on me wanting to help troubled youth. And who's more troubled? The youth that don't have parents to help assist them to continue to grow. And if you have an 18-year-old, they're not ready for the world. They're nowhere ready. You're
They're
like,
not
kiddo,
ready.
they're
They're
not
not
ready.
ready.
They're not ready at all. And so for God to allow me to help assist them, it's just so overwhelming. And so our organization is really getting in a position right now. We're 5 years old and we have received over half a
It
million
seems like you're
dollars.
so much older. It seems like the
Right.
organization so much because you accomplished so much within the five
Yes.
years.
Yes, we accomplished so much, and we're looking to do so much more in the next coming years. I mean, even the pandemic, it didn't really stop us. We were still receiving our corporate grants, but it did slow us down as far as getting out there and to really help. But right now, we're getting back on the wheel, and we're ready to move forward to get that home, that 90-day home that is needed. Because right now, the HR foster youth are living in motels, are getting pregnant, they're in abusive relationship because there's no one to continue to guide them.
Okay. So help us to understand just briefly the foster system because most of us only know the part children going into the foster system. We don't
Mhm.
quite understand the cutoff age. We don't understand that part. We don't even know
Yes.
about that part. We just figure
Yes.
once you're in the system, you're always in the system. We don't
Right.
don't know that the gap part. Explain that
Right.
part to us.
Because it is so many, I think it's like up to 1,400, 140,000 children in foster care. So there has to be a moment to move them forward in order to get the flood of children that are coming into foster care. And we all know situations happen at home. Maybe a child told on a mom, maybe the mom was, and some of them, when in my history of working the daycares, some of these children get angry, at the parent. Maybe the parent slapped them and now they're calling. So, because, now they say call 911 if
Right.
your children, you get out of line. And so now here you have this whole family in foster care because one child was angry at a parent. And now it causes more trouble in those children's lives. But the cutoff time is because the flood keep coming in and those new parents have to now move the older ones out so that they can get the younger ones coming in. So the system and everything you have to cut off, right? It's just like if you're on social service, if you get a job and you start making a certain amount of money, they cut you off. If you live in public housing and you make a certain amount of money, they cut you off. So there has to be a cutoff in order to why? Get the next flood that is coming in. Because when you move out of that housing authority house, another family is coming in. When you get off of food stamps, 10 more families are coming in to get those food stamps or that public assistance. So what foster care is, when we move that age out foster child coming in, we only making room for the next flood of children that are coming in. And most parents want younger kids.
Right.
You know, teenagers at that age, they begin to rebel. They rebel with their own parents. So could you imagine them in your home rebelling and you're trying to help them? You know, like, I don't have to do this for you, kid. You know, you think about, I could take a younger child. And so the system has to have where they have to cut off. And it used to be 18. Now it's up to 21. But
Well,
because so
that's good.
many youth, yeah, but because of so many youth that have gone through um the hurt and the pain in the foster care system, and the foster care system has changed. We have come a long way from where we were, where the
Right.
system was failing us. And so they have put a lot of things in place to help the safety of children. However, you may have those kids who say, I can't wait when I turn 18, I'm out of here. I can't wait, you know, or they're being group homes. In group homes, most of the kids could
Right.
not function inside of a family setting. And so now they're in group homes, but those group homes are like, I'm getting out of here soon as I turn 18. I don't care what the system said. And those are the kids that wind up on the street and drugs, alcohol, and prison. I say over, they said the statistics was 75% of the youth that are in prison are foster care children that have aged out the system.
That's a message. That's
Yes,
sending us a message.
yes, yes.
And
That's a lot.
somewhere along the line, the ball is being dropped somewhere.
Yes,
That's
and the
in the
ball is being dropped on both sides. Like, we can't say the foster care system, we can't say the group home. What we can say is that the ball is being dropped on both homes. So think about your own home. Like in my own home, if I'm raising my kids, I may have one who just wants to rebel and it's not
right.
going to follow any of my rules, no matter what I do. You'll have that one. And then you'll look back and people say, oh, well, she didn't do her kids right. No, that
Right.
one child decide not to follow the rules. And that's
Right.
how it is in every system. Every system you can't put the finger at one place. It all has to come together where we're looking at each other and say, did I play my part? Did I
Right.
do my role as a foster parent? Did I play my role as the foster child? Because why am I in this situation? Did I follow the rules? Did I listen? Did I obey? And so we can't look at the system to say the system failed. We all fail. We
Right.
all have a part to play. Our parents who failed us, right? The Why
Right.
we're in the foster care system, they failed us. You know, here the system is trying to help us, and then we fail because we don't understand why we're in the foster care system. We don't
Right.
understand why we can't go back home to our parents who we thought loved us, right? And so it's everybody who fails the system. It's not one person or one organization who fail. If the children come into my home, I can't look back and say I failed, right? I got to look at that they play their part. When we help women in 90-day housing, they got to play their part. We have the program set, but if they don't do the program, if they don't adhere to the rules and regulations, they can't look and say the program failed. They got to play their part. So everybody has a part to play in this system.
So take us through the process of upon entering the the 90 days of love program.
Okay. When they come into the program from 90 Days of Love,
And these are
so
ages
these are
18.
age out foster care, whoever decides to age out. So at
Okay.
18, if they decide I want to age out the system, then they can age out the system and they have up to 2 years to get into a program that will support them, because then the state will continue to pay for them up until the age 21 or 24, I think it is. They will
Okay.
continue to assist them. Now, if they've been out the foster care system more than 2 years, then the system will not assist them and they will have to work and come into the program. But we do job skills, we do life skills, we do financial literacy, we do home economics. Because you know, kids don't know how to cook, they don't want to cook, but they need to learn how to cook. They need to learn how to fend for themselves. We teach them budgeting, financial budgeting. And so those are things that's going to help them to be self-sufficient. So they get everything that you would probably teach your child or want to teach your child, or I would want to teach my child. We take them through the program. And I don't do this alone. I have partners, right? I cannot
Mhm.
do this alone. I partner up with different organizations. And right now, because we didn't have housing in the beginning, we partner up with Covenant House. And Covenant House is an organization that takes youth 18 up to 24 now. Used to be 21, but now it's 24, and they house them for 90 days and they do the same thing. They help them get jobs, they do job training, they do counseling, and different programs that they have set for their organization. And so when they come into the program, they got to be willing to work. They got to be willing to do the work. It's not going to work for them if they come in and say, you know what, I don't want to do the work. I just want to live here. It's not going to work for them.
Mhm. What about the mental health part of that? Because I'm noticing you're
Yes.
saying they have to do the work, they have to do, but that is a mindset
No.
also. So how do
Yes.
we move them to the mindset of not being the victim?
Yes, and that's a good question. See, the things that sets us apart from other organizations is that we're Christian based. And so the first 90 days, they're given nothing but God's love, the true love
Mm,
of God. And in that moment, we're dealing with their past. We're having them open up, and it's through spiritual counseling. Because I understand that I had to go through spiritual counseling to get free from all the things that had used to torment me from coming up from a young girl and all of those things. And so we have that in place. So in the first 90 days, we do nothing but love. And that is where 90 Days of Love came from. When I used to take troubled teens in, a young girl who was prostituting at the age of 12. We had another young girl who just kept running away and rebelling against their parents. We had twins. So we had these in our home, and I didn't even have a program. I didn't have anything. But what I did have was my life experience that I shared with them, and I had the love of God. And through that,
right.
they begin to change their lives. And so God told me, He said, in 90 days, you don't teach a cooking lesson, you don't teach a life skill, you don't do anything but share the love of God with them. And so in the first 90 days, they get nothing but the love of God, because it is the love of God that will change us on the inside, that will help us, that will deliver us and set us free so that now we can accept the things on the outside. And a
Mhm.
lot of times when we go through all of that hurt, we don't even love ourselves. So don't ask me to love you. Don't ask me to receive
Right.
love because I can't even love myself. And so we help them. Not it's not a taught. It is something that they have to come to themselves by us giving to them. Letting them know that they can trust us. They come into a safe place. It is a safe home that they can be exposed. They can be vulnerable. They can open up. They can share things they may never share with anybody. And in this setting, one thing that I learned in when sometimes children go through trauma, they're in that room by themselves and they're talking to this one person. So they feel alone. They feel like, oh, it only happened to me. When I was molested, I mean, even though I seen one of my other family members being the same thing, we've never talked about it. We've never
Wow.
looked at that and go, wow, this is happening to us. So we felt alone in that. And so a lot of times when people are molested or raped or something going bad with them, they feel alone. Oh, it was something I did. Maybe it was something I did for myself. Maybe I wasn't good enough. And so we put that shame on ourselves. But when you're sitting in a room for teens who've gone through the same thing, now you like, oh, it didn't just happen to me.
Right.
Oh, they didn't. Oh, somebody else did you like that?
Right.
They begin to understand that they're not in this alone. And I think if more organizations will allow these group settings where a child can be vulnerable and share, another one can look and go, oh, that happened to me. Oh, I
A
experienced that too.
non-judgmental
Yes,
environment.
non-judgmental environment. Exactly. A non-judgmental environment. So we deal with that in the beginning. So I'm so glad that you asked that because that is very, very important. We can't push them to get a
Yeah.
job when they haven't worked on themselves. We can't send them to work
Right.
for somebody else when we haven't worked on ourselves. Because
Right.
when we work on ourselves, we show up the best version of ourselves.
And that's basically what you want them to learn how to do, to show up the best,
Yes.
and to be, not to be like you, but
Yes.
to pretty much move through that whole trauma. uh
Yes. Yes.
to
And
move through that
it is
trauma.
trauma.
It is trauma.
It is
uh
trauma because I mean, I think in my early 30s is when I really started remembering things. And I
oh
was at work.
wow.
And when I was at work, I had an abusive boss. I mean, she talked to me like a dog, that's very, very negative. I mean, one day she put me in her office and she was like, you don't deserve a penny. Now, I was a hard worker. I can do her
Yeah.
job. She just did not like me. And in the middle of her sitting up there and telling me I wasn't worth anything, I blacked out. All I saw myself was taking a lamp and beating her in the head, like just beating her. But I would have been beating her for all the hurt and pain because I
Right.
just started remembering what happened to me. I was just dealing with that whole thing. And so here she is telling me I'm not worth a dime. I
And
was
it
already
triggered
feeling
something, but
it
you wasn't quite
triggered.
sure what it triggered.
Exactly. It triggered. And in the middle of her talking, I said, wait, hold on. Give me 1 minute. And I went in the bathroom and I collapsed. I had a breakdown. And I
Wow.
went and I started seeing at this moment, at this time is when TD Jakes came out with Woman Thou Art Loose. And I remember going home. They gave me a leave of absence. I remember going home, getting in my bed and turning on TBN. And he started preaching, Woman Thou Art Loose. And I'm telling you, I laid in that bed and I got broke. I got free. I started just crying out to God. And I remember he gave instructions that if you didn't know what, come up with something that you can do to push yourself forward. And at that time, I was seeing a
Wow.
psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist told me to write a letter. And so I remember writing a letter to my abuser, just writing letters. And he was dead, he was gone. But it started with him. Everything else that I went through was because of where it started, the root of what happened. And so I
Right.
wrote that letter and I folded up and I buried it. And that day I was delivered. But that woman almost lost her life because she triggered that thing in me. And I
And
thank God
you
that
didn't
she did.
realize it.
I thank God that she did. And from that moment, I was able to really move in my life. I went to Dress for Success. That I started learning from them. I was able to get a job in banking. I left that job. I left with my head held high because I did not retaliate on how she was treating me. And I've been growing ever since that day I heard Woman Die Loose.
But that's just a really good example of how things where people meant for things to be bad,
Yes.
or their intentions are for it to be bad, and that's
Yes.
scripture, but God is able to turn around for your good, and you got your
Yes.
difference, and you were able to move forward. And had
Yes.
not that happened, you wouldn't have been able to get that breakthrough that you
Exactly.
received. But also, another side of that is that, no, I was just saying that, people need to just start trying to understand where other people are coming from, instead of
Yes.
your approach always being in attack. But hurt
Yes.
people hurt hurt others.
Exactly.
Some most
Exactly.
hurt people hurt others.
Exactly. And that is so true. Hurt people hurt others. And I'm so glad that I was able to get my deliverance. But it was a process. I got free there, but I had to keep on working to get my deliverance because at that moment, as I'm trying to get free, I'm in an abusive relationship.
Right.
So I had to fight through all of that of now I'm revealing what happened to me. Everybody in my family's denying it. No one wants to accept responsibility. So I am left alone with this
Wow.
secret that I'm trying to get someone to be accountable for what has happened to me. And over the years of going through and constantly
Mm,
coming back and constantly keeping myself free. It took some years because I was in a relationship growing, and when you're in things, it's
mm,
hard to get yourself free because you're fighting against something else.
mm.
And so I thank God though now that I know how to fight. I thought I was supposed to physically fight, but now I know how to fight, and I fight with the word of God. I fight with the love of God because that is what set me free was the love of God. And that is what we do for the age out foster youth. We share with them the love of God, and it works. The love of God will sustain. It says it will pass, it holds up against anything that can
Right.
try to come up against you. The love of God.
Exactly. So we want to just go ahead, and for individuals who are listening to this or watching this, um, just again, take them through the steps of the 90. We're not going to get off track.
Right, right,
take
right.
them take them through the steps.
Through the steps. So when they come into the house, they'll receive 90 days of love for 90 days. And then after that, we start on the first thing that we start on is going to be their life skills. What do they need to develop themselves? So it's a whole 6-week program that they'll go through within looking for a job, right? So they'll do job training. We'll find out what they like. For me, I like to know what a child likes, not just to go work, but are you an entrepreneur? How can you start your business? So we have people that can help them how to start their own business and maybe
Oh,
be an
wow.
entrepreneur, because a lot of these children are gifted and we think that they need to go get a job to help them start paying for things, but maybe God has a gift for them. Because my whole thing in the next 5 years, I need one of these youth to take over 90 Days of Love Crisis Center, because my goal is not to do this for the rest of my life, right?
Right.
My goal is
Right.
to give it to the youth who have gone through the system. And so looking for that individual. And so what we do is we try to find their gift so that their gift can make room for them. Right. And so as we begin to find their gift, we know exactly they have a counselor that takes them through each process. And so they're given a coach to help them to develop them where they need to go, what job they need to look for. We don't want them to just go work at a warehouse, just go just because. Right. No, we want them to be happy where they go. We want them to be happy in themselves and feeling fulfilled, right? Because we all don't have so much time here on this earth. So why not fulfill purpose? And so that
Mhm.
life coach is supposed to help pull that purpose out of them and put them in the right direction. So that is the steps that they go through. They'll get all the skills, but we pull out first what is inside of you. What was your passion? Maybe someone likes crocheting. Maybe someone likes knitting and they think it's crazy. No, it's not. People are
Mhm.
making money knitting and crocheting. People are making money making beads. Right now they got this new belt out called the bead belt,
Yes.
So there's money in creativity. And so finding what their passion is our next best thing that we do for them. We don't push them into a job. We find out what's their
What's
gift
that?
and we
Okay.
allow their gift to make room for them. Maybe someone likes communicating, communication, customer service, whatever it is, we find out what's on the inside of them. And then we help them find that job. We help them find that career. We help them start that business.
Okay. So how could someone get involved? How can the aged out foster
The
child get
HR
started?
foster youth, we're connected with the social services here in Atlanta, Georgia. So
Okay,
they
great.
can just we can get referrals from them from 90 Days of Love Crisis Center, or they can go to the website www.90daysoflove.org. There's a phone number on it. There's no address. We do not give an address of where the home is located.
Okay.
But there's no address. But when they get in touch with us and they sit and meet with a counselor, myself or one of the counselors, then we will see where they've come from, where they are, how did they know about us so that we can connect them. We have
Okay.
sponsorship. So a youth that's been out the system for 2 years don't have to fear like, oh my God, a job, I can't go there. No, we have sponsorship for that youth that would pay for them to continue to come into the home. So
Oh,
youth
wow.
don't have to fear that, oh my God, I've been out of the system. I can't get in. They can. We have sponsorships and we've been building this for over 5 years to be able to house the youth. So they have no fear. We got them. God's got them. He called us to share this with them and share the love of God and bring them to become self-sufficient. And so they don't have to fear that, oh, I've been out the system. They just have to prove to us that they were in the system, whether they were in New York, California, because a lot of the youth come to Atlanta for some reason and they come from other states. And so they just have to prove documentation that they were in the foster care system. If they haven't and they need housing, we have partners who have housing. As I said, Covenant House, who house any youth from anywhere, no matter whether they're foster children or not. They take them in. And so it won't be that they're left alone. There is places that still take youth that are 18 to 24.
Okay. So, we also want to kind of intervene before a child, a young adult get to that point. And maybe there
Yes,
are some people who are interested in being the foster care
yes,
parent, but don't
yes.
know exactly what to expect or have these false expectations.
Right. Now it's a lot
When,
of work. I mean, you have to be
yeah.
a loving
Well, so kind
parent.
of tell them give an idea of what to expect.
Well, as a
Uh,
foster parent, you're going to expect rejection. They're not going to come in your house and love you and trust you. because you're smiling and you're grinning and you have the love of God. They're not. It could be that they were with somebody like that and they already seen, oh no, I already know what that looked like. That's a fake Christian. That's so they already have their walls up. So expect their walls to be up. They will be up. It's going to take some time before you break those walls down, and it's okay. You have to have patience. You have to have allow this person, individual, to learn to love, to learn to grow, to learn to be accepted. You may get children of all walks of life. You know, you have a lot of parents who reject children because they are bisexual or they decide that they're gay or they want to be gay. And you may get this child, and now you're like looking at this child. You still have to love them. You
Mm,
still have to accept them as who they are. And
mhm.
once a child feels that love and that they know that it's genuine, they know when love is real, they'll begin to open up. And so I encourage, we need more parents, we need more foster care parents out there in this world. So just be patient. The child is not going to come directly into your home and accept you just like that. They may curse you, they may swear at you. Just continue to be who you are and continue to love. Sometimes we gotta love the hell up out of them, right? Not the hell, not their hellish, but the hell they've gone through.
Wow, yeah.
You know,
Oh,
the hell
wow.
they've gone through. We got to
That's
love
good.
that up out of them,
Yeah.
and so just be patient. But if you have the heart and you have the space, open up and allow these youth to come in and share the love of God with them. That way, we begin to change the cycle. We begin to change the statistics of the jail system, of sex trafficking, of youth on drugs, living on the street. We begin to become a part of helping the problem, and we become the solution and not the problem. So don't talk about a problem if you're not willing to become the solution.
Exactly. Exactly. I the Arise show, we are about informing and inspiring. And
Yes.
you came from a background of a lot of disappointments and what could be looked upon as being shameful, but you turned it
Mm-hmm.
around. And now you all, she has a book. She is the author of How to Build a Profitable Nonprofit Organization. And I was going to talk about it on this show, but this calls for a separate
Yes.
lesson. But
Yes,
kind
it
of,
does.
because your profit, I'm sorry, your organization is a nonprofit.
Yes. Yes.
And so you're giving classes
Yes.
and I started out in the class, I must admit, and it was a
Yes. You need to get back in this
I
class.
need to get back in the class. But it is, and it's really motivational for one thing, because the first thing it takes is motivation.
Yes. Yes. It takes
So,
motivation. It takes commitment. It takes knowing that you have a purpose to fulfill here on this earth. And I just want to tell you, when I wrote this book, actually, it was right after our class, because I think you joined my class in 2019
oh
when we were
really?
coming local. And my class was like what, $50 a month or something. And so,
Yes.
well, the classes are not $50 a month anymore. But I've grown. I wanted to, because see, my whole purpose is to help those who have the passion to serve their community. And so my purpose is to, because we've have been successful and grown into a $500,000, serve over 15 to 2,500, I think 4,500 families in the last couple years. We were able to receive grants from our community. And so I said to myself, hey, listen, if I can do this, let me show someone. Because when I started my nonprofit, I had no one to help me. I was just clueless. I was out there like, how do you do this? And I could have gotten myself in a lot of trouble. bookkeeping wise, with the IRS, having family members on my board more than 30%. So I could have lost my compliance. But I thank God that I got the work. I went become 501c best practice. And now that's how my coaching started, because I want you guys who have that passion to serve your community at the best level that you can. And how do you do that? By structuring your nonprofit for success. And when you set the foundation, the word of God says, how do you build a house and not count the cost? And many times we get into things, but we don't count the cost, right?
We
What is
don't
the
want to
cost?
plan. I mean,
We don't want to plan. We just want
yeah,
to,
the weak part is
what
we just don't want to plan. We just want to jump. I'm just going to speak for myself. I can't speak
yes,
for anyone
yes,
else. I just want to jump in and just do it. I don't have time for all of that. I'm
yes,
thinking my mind. I don't want to sit
yes,
down. I just want to just do it.
yes. And one thing that we have to understand, that when it comes to a nonprofit and doing that, you have to be accountable, right?
Yeah.
Someone is giving you their funding, and the IRS expecting you to be accountable for the funding, for the donations and everything. So when they knock on your door and say, hey, you've been building your nonprofit for the last 3 years, where's all the funding? What has come in? I mean, because these people, you got people who say, I gave this at the end of their taxes. They're like, I gave $1,500 to this organization, but
Okay.
this organization isn't recording it, right? So you
Okay.
want to be accountable. The only now, if you're doing a for-profit, it's different. You don't have to worry about that, as
Right.
much. But when it comes to the IRS, and number one, I want people to understand is that your nonprofit belongs to God, because he called you to it. He designed for you to have this purpose in life. And then it belongs to your community, because those are the people that you're serving. And then it belongs to the IRS, because at any given moment that you're not operating compliance, they can shut you down. And it only belongs to you because you're a servant of God. God chose you. Out of
Right.
all the people on the earth, he chose you to fulfill this purpose on the earth. And when we're
Wow.
not fulfilling God's purpose, we hold up our purpose, right?
Mm.
We hold up our prosperity. It was only when I said yes to God back in 2015 that I would start the nonprofit. And I said, God, if you will help me do this, I promise I will continue to grow it. And that is what I did. I fulfilled God's purpose, and I'm still fulfilling purpose, that he opened up the door and start me to coaching. And then I wrote the book. And now I have Pink Print, where now you can do a self-paced course. You can buy my self-paced course and do it in your own home. Not it's recorded of my coaching class. So God has moved me since 2019 to now, where I wrote the book in 21 days. I did the coaching program in 6 weeks, and now you can do it self-paced anywhere in the UK. I have people in the UK who want to do my program, but it's too late in the morning for them. But now they can download and do it at home at any
Oh,
given
that's great.
time.
That's great.
Yes,
That's great.
yes,
Love to hear that. I love to hear that. And I'll be back on course soon.
yes. Soon. Yes, my next class starts August the 6th, so you definitely want to get in on it. Or like I said, you can order the pink print. It's
Mhm.
on mastermind.com. I can send you the link, or that you can share with your followers, where they can just go ahead and self-pace, do it at home. It's the recordings, and it's amazing. I have people that are purchasing it now, and everybody's like, yes. And the thing that some people worry about,
Mm.
accountability. I'm
Yeah.
still your accountability partner. So you get to get in Google Classroom, you get to get me on one-on-one as well. And so that is the great bonus that I offer in doing my self-paced coaching course, that you still have accountability partner, because we all need accountability, because if not, we
Yeah.
won't do it.
Yeah, and that is true. That is so true. You need that one person to say, all right now, come on,
Yes,
what's going
where you
on
at?
here? Where
Right.
are you now? Where you
Yes.
but I want to thank you so much, Crystal, for taking the time out to come on and sharing the information that is so needed when it comes to the aged out foster care youth. And um, I would definitely I want my listeners and my watchers to look and get the information and to pass on this information to whomever may need it, because it is so needed. It's so needed.
Yes, it
And
is.
we don't know people's stories. We don't
Yes.
know the story, and we
Yes.
see young adults not, in a certain place, and we become judgmental, and we think, oh, you should
Mhm.
be doing this and you should be doing that, but we don't know their story. So I think what this
Exactly.
also says that we need to stop and not just the youth, the young adults, anyone. We need to stop
Anyone.
and find out
Yes.
what is that person's story.
Yes, yes. What's their story? There's always a story behind where they are. I mean, I thought about that till the time when I was younger. No one never asked me why I was mad, why I was
Right,
angry. I was an angry teen. I hated teachers. I hated school. I hated adults. I hated any male figure. No
wow,
one took the time. And when they kicked me out of high school and I tried to get back in school, one teacher who didn't even know me in the middle of all these teachers, they're telling me, no, you cannot. We heard all about you. We got your record. My record was this big. My
right,
principal was sick and tired of me. He had me in middle school to high school, and he was like, you're done. And when we were desegregated, when they bused us to go to the other schools, my record went right with me. And I'm
right.
sitting trying to get back in school because I got kicked out in 11th grade. And one teacher did not know me, said, guys, I think she can change. I
Mm,
think there's something in her that we need to take time and let her in this school. And they all like this.
done.
Nope, nope, we're done. She cannot come into school. We heard what she did. The principal had her says this, this, and this. And I sit in there and I cry. But I remember that teacher who said, no matter what, you've got to fight for yourself.
Yes.
That day forward, I got pregnant at 20. I went back to school to get my GED. I had to take my son with me every day, and I would give him a bottle while I sit in the class. But I remember her words: "You got to fight for yourself." She tried to fight for me. They said no, but I brought that on myself. But no one asked me, "Why are you so angry?
Right. What happened?
What happened?
Right.
What happened?" And even if they did, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell them
But the fact that someone took the show that they cared,
that they
although you
cared.
might not share it,
Yes,
wow, there is somebody out there who truly
yes.
cares.
There's someone that cared. Exactly. There's someone that cares.
Well,
So I
thank
want
you.
to thank you.
Thank
And if
you.
anybody wants to volunteer for 90 Days of Love, they can go to 90 Days of Love. You spell out
Oh,
the
great.
word
Oh,
.org
great.
and you can click on the link to volunteer. You can donate. We're always looking for donations, volunteers. We're looking for board members to continue to grow our organization.
Oh,
And if
wow.
Yes, and if you want to come into my coaching program, it's crystaldurham.com and just click on the link and you can come in or get the book or consultation. Anything you need that I am there for you. So thank you so much for having me come in. I'm excited. I'm glad you have the book because the book is really,
Yes.
really good. It tells my story in the book as well. And so I'm excited. I'm Latanya. Thank you for having me.
Great. And we're going to definitely have you to come back to actually, after I finish reading everything, and to actually, talk about the book and talk more in depth on how we could grow our organization and even start a nonprofit organization successfully in the right way.
Yes.
Again,
Yes.
we have the right way.
The right way.
Again, we have Krista Durham. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
For a strong dose of love, joy, laughter, and information for healthy living.